Alright, so we're going to try to burn through this quicker without as many delays, as many, jump-ins, so I'll take notes, which is a pain in the ass, actually, but I'm not very good at that. Anyway, so the cause of discrimination, the health effects of tobacco. Let's see, other vices not unhealthy. So that would be the argument. So anyway, his argument for the disproportional taxation is that cigarette smoking, again, is worse than these other vices. So overeating, and it's just a liberty, right, to overeat. To be fat is a liberty interest. And alcohol use is a liberty interest. Now, these two classes of liberty interest are apparently so much more benign than cigarette smoking. That's the argument. I would say the argument is clearly that the one that is the minority vice, the one with less participants, is the vice they've slaughtered for tax money. It's clear. The only argument in the summary judgment motion was the argument from these are very important revenues. They said it. They want the money. They didn't talk about kids or anything else. No, they just talk about it's an important source of revenue, so we need laws to steal the revenue. It's just simple. All right, this little clicky noise that he does. Majority bigotry, not the cause for the difference. So again, his claim is that it's not because cigarette smokers are now a minority that all of a sudden they're being taxed out of, functional freedom. That has nothing to do with it. Yeah, I think it's obviously has everything to do with it. Okay, he says, I said people aren't allowed to hate. And no, I never said that. What I've said is that you can't turn hate into legislation. You can't let hate write to legislation. So, again, lie some more, which is fine. I'm the one saying the bigotries aren't acceptable. You're the one saying they are. And there's a difference between hating people because their character sucks. I mean, hating people for what they say and do, and hating people just as they smoke cigarettes. Those are really different things, you bigot. So then he said this about the standard. There's much lower standard for liberty interests than there are for protected classes of people. I don't deny that protected classes of people there's a higher standard for anything that's going to encroach on them or violate what might be perceived as their rights. But that doesn't change the fact that the law cited in the judge's decision was from the 40s and 50s before the Civil Rights Act, and the standard then was still 14th Amendment standard, so that doesn't really say anything. It's still a high standard. It's not a low standard. It's lower than the rights of somebody to be a bigot, racial bigot, but it doesn't mean that you're allowed to be some other kind of bigot. Okay, so in this part he's going on about explaining how he's proven that alcohol is much better than cigarette smoking. Cigarette smoking is much worse. And he's citing the CDC. So apparently he did an analysis of these figures that from the Centers for Disease Control, which is a government organization that's partly contrived this whole hysteria. So, number one, I'd say their numbers are bullshit. But I would be curious how you put a price tag on all the lives killed by drunk drivers. I mean, I don't know how the CDC exactly put a monetary value on those lives destroyed, killed. I don't know, did they include all the people paralyzed in those car accidents caused by drunk driving? Did they include any of that? I mean, is all the secondary damage concluded? Is all the beaten wives, are they included? The other violent crimes committed by people under the influence of alcohol, are they included? I mean, I'm certainly include all the people who are under the influence of tobacco, if you like, but I'm just saying, yeah, I don't buy the numbers. I don't buy the analysis. I don't think it's anywhere close to the truth. And we already know that they blame every cardiac death. If you smoke cigarettes at any point in your life and you die of heart disease, they're going to blame the cigarettes, and not for any scientific reason, just because of a bigoted reason, period. So, again, statistical analysis. Statistics are very useful, but obviously in the hands of people with a malicious intent, they're of no use because they can be perverted and twisted and manipulated. And that's what the CDC apparently has done. So, yeah, if you want me to go find the Cato Institute's analysis, then we can go find that and have a real argument. But it's just bullshit. It still doesn't account for an 800% differential. So, So, but listen to this.
Secondhand smoke doesn't exist in Garyland.
Yeah, well, it doesn't exist anymore anyway. Like I said, even if you could make some sort of argument that all these people living in industrial plants and all this other stuff, that somehow all those pollutants don't matter, and the only pollutant in the world is secondhand smoke, and then, to do this analysis. But obviously, the places where there could be any whine about congestion of smoke, enough smoke to cause some sort of secondhand smoke phenomenon that'd be worse than burning your toast. If you can come up with that analysis, there is no existing source of secondhand smoke, so it's not a relevant issue. You're able to take care of secondhand smoke without prohibiting the liberty, and again, that's what the courts require you to do. So anyway, he's making the argument, the very argument that the court was required to make. That's the whole point. The Attorney General was required to make the argument you're making here. They didn't make it. They didn't give me a chance to challenge it. So you say that the lawsuit was a fake, a fraud, a phony, and no, this is exactly what was required. The lawsuit, they were required to explain how alcohol is so much better than cigarette smoking, and how eating and being overweight is so much better, and why these classes of vice should be protected from excessive taxation, and why cigarette smokers shouldn't be protected from this excessive taxation. They had to demonstrate the differential. They didn't make these arguments. So how does this relate to the lawsuit? It doesn't relate to the lawsuit at all. These aren't arguments they made. Show me in their documents where they made this argument, where they stated, we think alcohol's okay, and we think cigarettes are dramatically worse. Where did they make that argument in the court case? Where? Show me the argument. So what's the point of you making this argument? It doesn't demonstrate a damn thing, except why wasn't this argument in the case? The fact that you're making the argument just demonstrates my point, right? This is what was required. You have to make the argument. Well, they didn't make the argument, shithead. So go ahead and make some more of your argument.
Shouldn't the cost of alcohol be much, much, much higher to society? But it's not. It's $30 billion higher, yes, and most of that is in lost productivity. But you would think it would just be accurate.
Well, I would argue that I think most people know that the worst part, the most expensive part of alcoholism is the dead people on the highway.
Economically higher, because Gary says alcohol is more unhealthy than cigarettes, and it's just going to be all ridiculously expensive and so forth. Additionally, the amazing thing is the CDC talks about it, and the health cost of each pack of cigarettes that someone smokes is about $10.50 roughly.
Well, again, you have your source, okay, the CDC, all right, a government organization, the same as, like I said. Why don't you just quote the whatever they call that, the fake vote, usually the fat guy who's the chief medical doctor of the country or whatever. Why don't you go quote one of them?
So really, if we were to factor in all the negative externalities of the cigarette, of how much a pack of cigarettes actually costs the economy, Gary should be paying about $10.50. That should every smoker, regardless of where they live. And the cost...
All right, so I guess I'm going to have to go find this other video, and I'll have to go through that document, and I'll have to go demonstrate how this is just a big, fat fucking lie. Yeah, that's what it is, a big, fat fucking lie. Everybody dies, retard. I'll say this again. So when you say, okay, this is how much cigarette smokers cost because they die, so you're going to take the cost of their death and not realize that it's not the cost of their death, it's the cost of their death at an earlier time in history. Okay, so dying when you're 65 and dying when you're 85. So the differential is to explain how dying at 65 is more expensive to society than dying at 85. And that you can't do. That analysis will clearly demonstrate that it's hugely expensive. So this is that's the fraud of this right off the start, is I'll bet you, any amount of money you want to bet, that their analysis has declared every death as part of the expense of the product, as if people aren't going to die anyway. So they're not explaining how cigarette smokers, when they die, are more expensive than regular death, how the regular death is this price and the cigarette smoker death is this price. They're not comparing two equal things. They're saying that cigarette smokers, their death is the whole cost of the death, and they're ignoring the death for the regular citizen. So the differential, you could say, just living costs $10 or 79 cents a day, or whatever the price would be, because you're going to die, and it's going to be expensive. So right there is probably a huge, gaping logical gap in your analysis. So it just comes down to more propaganda and lying. Very good. Continue.
A drink of alcohol, like a glass, should increase by about $1.90. Now, I am more than willing to pay that extra $1.90 for every drink of alcohol I have, Gary.
Okay, $1.90 per ounce of alcohol, so go ahead and add that up on a bottle of Wild Turkey and see what it comes to. About $70, $80, $90.
So let's do that. Let's set the cost of alcohol to reflect the economic damage that it causes, and let's set the price of cigarettes to take care of the economic damage it causes.
Well, again, you have established what this economic damage is. I don't agree with your numbers, and again, this isn't the argument in my court case. They didn't make this argument. They didn't make any argument. So again, I'm not going to argue this outside of a courtroom. Why should I waste my time doing that? All right? It doesn't do me any good to waste my time arguing with you on an argument the court didn't make, that the Attorney General didn't make. They're not claiming alcohol is a safer vice. They're not claiming obesity is a safer vice. Until they make that claim, I don't have any obligation to prove it bullshit. But it is bullshit, and you goddamn know it. But go ahead, play your fucking game, bigot. You're just a bigot.
I am more than fine with that, Gary. Are you?
No, I'm not fine with the whole concept of taxing vice, as it is intrinsically fucking discriminatory against poor people, you stupid retard.
That it's not as deserving as cigarettes for taxation, that it isn't as big a social cost or socially damaging or socially
Isn't it amusing that I was able to basically go over this and answer Gary's point before he made it, because...
You haven't gone over it. You said you already played the video anyway. But again, where in the court case was this argument made? Where in the court case did they make this argument? Oh, that's right, they didn't. And that was their obligation. Fucking idiot. Yeah. You're not on the subject, shithead. The subject is, you claim my case deserved to be thrown out of court. You're not explaining how they earned the right to throw it out of court by making an argument. They didn't make an argument, jackass. Gee, you're such a liar.
How about decades of studies proving the harmful effects of tobacco, not only to people smoking it, but to the people around them, especially the newer studies that are coming out showing that even if you say go outside and walk fucking, 100 feet away from a goddamn door and no one's standing around you, and you smoke a cigarette and you go back inside to your house or to work, you're still tracking all of those carcinogens everywhere.
Okay, so now he's saying secondhand smoke is so invidious that it sticks to your body, and when you go back indoors, you give people cancer. That's how insane this fucking bullshit is getting. And again, the argument isn't, jackass, what kind of crazy bullshit argument are you making? The argument is the court was required. You're reading the Supreme Court standards. That means they have to make the argument first. Okay, show me in the Attorney General's summary judgment motion where she made the argument that alcohol is not as socially destructive. Show me in her argument where she explained how diabetes from obesity is not more dangerous to social whatever, the social interest. Show me those arguments. Show me where they were made. Show me where she explained how cigarette smokers are uniquely the worst vice in human history. Show me where she pointed out or proved that it's 800 times worse than these other things. Well, 20 times worse. Show me where she made that argument, shithead. Oh, that's right. You can't do that because it doesn't exist. So you're just playing a game after the fact. This isn't part of the court case. There's no argument about any of this shit in the court case. And your argument was this court case was on its face wrong. Well, if it was on its face wrong, why wasn't that argument made? Oh, that's right, because then it could be challenged, just like your bullshit could be challenged. This whole idea that carcinogens are sticking to people and giving people cancer. I mean, this is just fucking preposterous, considering considering the founding fathers sat there and lived with oil lamps, filling the air full of all kinds of horrid soot, really heavy particles, that they were inhaling dirt, from dirt roads. I mean, hard particles. Yeah, and they managed to survive. You're a joke. Alright, moving along. 28 minutes. Oof, still got an hour and a half to go. I don't know if I've got really time for this. But anyway, I have to finish later probably. Anyway, okay, so it's just coming down to this is like some sort of nicotine truther stuff, right? That this is the new truther philosophy, that carcinogens from cigarettes now stick to people and they can migrate all over the environment, and the cigarette bomb radiation leaches off of them, gives people cancer. I mean, it's just an insane fucking proposition. Hundreds of years people smoked cigarettes and there wasn't this panic, and all of a sudden the panic. Why? Oh, that's right, because the number of cigarette smokers got low enough to just rape them. Fine. You're bigots. That's all you are. You're fucking fat, alcoholic bigots. To beach. Anyway. Alright, so the traitor definition, okay, I'll grant you that you're not explicitly a traitor under the United States Constitution, but in my opinion, you're a traitor to the Constitution. So if you're saying I can't use the word traitor in any other context, well, fuck you, I'm going to. Okay, I think you're a traitor to the Constitution, a traitor to Thomas Jefferson, and yeah, we should go back in time in the sense that we should burn stuff at the stake, but it shouldn't be witches. It should be traitors. Yeah. You don't defend constitutional rights. Yeah, well, that's the bottom line, right? You don't defend the United States Constitution. I went to a court and expected to be able to argue my constitutional rights, and I wasn't allowed to argue my constitutional rights, and that to me is really, really not good. Did you think it's okay? Tobacco companies apparently are my representatives in Congress. Right, they're the ones who sold us out, for hundreds of billions of dollars, to get out of the lawsuits, to stay in business. They made a deal. We'll keep you in business. We'll give you some fucking more subsidies, Just sign this piece of paper saying you're going to tax, you're going to pay, you're going to force people to pay a huge amount for their cigarettes now, so we'll take all the liability away from you. So no one can sue you anymore for killing them as individuals. And we'll just take all the money. And so that's my representative in Congress. Tobacco companies are cigarette smokers, apparently. Right? I mean, Walmart shoppers are directly slave owners. Maybe. Anyway, you don't understand protected class, he says. Well, no, of course I do understand. I understand that the court cases, the Supreme Court decisions cited in the judges' decisions are from the 40s and the 50s, before the Civil Rights Act. All right, protected classes has nothing to do with 14th Amendment. And he also argues that somehow I don't know that the 14th Amendment was a later amendment. Well, I do know. And the whole reason why it's there is to do this very thing, which is to create some sort of equity in the application of the law. So, yeah, that's really kind of important. Yeah. So now right here, I argue that there was no argument made, and he just keeps saying things like this.
Discrimination must be justified.
And they did justify it.
Where did they justify the discrimination? If there's a difference in treatment, it must be justified. Where in her argument, where in the Attorney General's argument, was there any justification for a disparity between the taxation of cigarette smokers and any other vice? Where was that explained? Why was it justified? What rationale was produced besides a statement in there saying cigarette taxes are a very important source of state revenue? Besides saying it's a very important source of state revenue, where did she explain why cigarette smokers should be taxed at this rate and other vices shouldn't be? Where was that explanation provided?
Reasonably.
And in the summary judgment motion, the explanation not only needs to be provided, it needs to be proven. So where did she prove that cigarette smokers are decidedly worse vice offenders than drinkers or overeaters? Where did she prove either one of those contentions?
They did.
Where? They did where? Where did they prove those two contentions?
I'm sorry.
Okay, wait. We'll move on. No, they didn't. They didn't prove anything. They didn't argue anything. The justice I received was a sham, and the fact that you can't admit that makes you one scary motherfucker. One un-American scary motherfucker. Yeah. And I would like you. I would be very happy if you just dropped the fuck dead. Because you suck so bad. I mean, you just suck. I mean, I'd rather aliens. I mean, full of acid blood. I'd rather communicate with them than something as creepy and disgusting as you. I'd rather sleep with them. I'd rather anything with them. I'll play with their drool rather than be within 10 feet of your stench. You're disgusting. You're fucking disgusting me that you're going to defend this as American justice. A judge who says he doesn't have jurisdiction over my fundamental constitutional rights. And you defend that. Sorry, no sale.
Okay. Well, that's a fault of your lack of cognitive ability, not the fault of anyone else.
Right. So, again, so now the key part there where the judge says, he's reading the Supreme Court decisions, and there has to be a reasonable basis for the discrimination. I said, where is the reasonable basis? Clearly, it isn't in the court case anywhere. And so now he keeps just pointing out how he's made the argument in his video 10 years later. Oh, I don't understand. So the court case that took place 10 years ago, I was supposed to go to your video 10 years in the future and argue the argument you made 10 years in the future. That was my obligation because the Attorney General didn't make any such argument. She didn't make any claims that cigarette consumption is much worse than alcoholism or fat. She didn't make any of those arguments. So I was supposed to fly into the future, get your video, bring it back, insert it into her summary judgment motion, and then argue it. That was my obligation, shithead. Again, I can't shoot down an explanation for a disparity unless they provide an explanation for the disparity. They provided no explanation because they just ignored the disparity. They ignored the issue of discrimination. They just says we has right to tax. We has right to tax. We can tax. That's all they said. They didn't deal with the word excessive, and they didn't deal with the word discrimination. They just ignored them, threw them right in the garbage can, and you said that's what a court should do. It should take your claims and slide them into the garbage can and pretend you didn't make them. That's American justice in your eyes. That's your vision of America's future. Judges who take your constitutional claims and slide them into the garbage can. I mean, I can only wish you the America we have, which is a fucking disaster. And may you burn to death in it. Okay, you don't deserve anything else but flaming goddamn death. You suck.
So now it's our fault that you are mentally retarded, essentially?
No, it's not your fault. It's your fault to sit there and make an argument saying that somehow they made an argument. You say, we're all making these great arguments about alcohol is so cool and cigarettes so much suck. Well, those arguments weren't made in the court case, shithead. God, you really are so fucking stupid. This is pointless. You people are too stupid to breathe oxygen. There really should be a test. There really should be a test. There really should be. And you're failing it. Dismally. Here we go. I hear this is good.
Stated on page 5, equal protection quote, equal protection that all persons must be treated identically, but rather that similar people be dealt with in a similar manner, and that people...
There you go. So the argument is right there.
That similar people need to be treated in a similar manner, and you are treated the same as all other cigarette smokers.
Well, there you go. So that's his explanation, right? So you could just so that is amazing. So if we have a discrimination against whatever funky eyebrowed people, and we decide to persecute them with a tax, we can just justify it by saying, well, we treated all the people with funky eyebrows the same, so we are safe from 14th Amendment accusation. I mean, clearly the court was not saying you have to treat the people who are the one class against the other class, that all the people in the one class you're discriminating against treated the same. No, they're saying that the people in similar classes of vice or category have to be treated similarly. It's right there in the judge's decision. As stated, that's the best he could do. That's the best argument in defense of his own argument. And it's a slam dunk for the 14th Amendment, a slam dunk for the fact that obviously obesity and alcohol and cigarettes are not being treated similarly. So, full stop. Let's hear it.
But rather that similar people
do it again.
In a similar manner, and that people.
There you go. So the argument is right there.
That similar people need to be treated in a similar manner, and you are treated the same as all other cigarette smokers.
The New Jersey State Supreme.
Well, obviously that's not even true either. As you just pointed out, cigarette smokers in Virginia have a huge advantage over cigarette smokers in New Jersey. So obviously this fundamental right, this right that is universal to people living in any state or anywhere in the United States of America, are not getting equal protection under the law. In some states they're being denied their right to this fundamental liberty. That's right.
In court, okay? Similarly situated vice has to be treated the same. You can't treat it disproportionately, preposterously.
Alcohol has less negative effects on society.
Not an argument in the case. Not an argument made in the summary judgment motion. How could I shoot it down if it wasn't made? That's right, it wasn't made. It wasn't made. It wasn't in the court case. Look at the court case. It's not in the court case, shithead. They didn't make that argument, shithead. You can't do it 10 years later and say, oh, I meant to include it in the... Oh, my oversight. I misspoke. I didn't include this 10 years ago in your court case. Yeah, because you didn't do that, shithead.
At least by the metrics you yourself have tried to use, alcohol is not as damaging to society.
And again, so full stop, he says there. So full stop, we're going to count, when a person dies of cigarette smokers, we're going to count the full expense of their death. When they die of some other cause, we're not going to count the full expense of their death. Yeah, that's a fair cop. Yeah, that's more of this great American justice. This is the great American way. Just propaganda all over the place. So why are you complaining that people just sit there and call them towel heads over there and contrive an excuse? Let's kill all the Palestinians because a few Palestinians are terrorists. Yeah, that makes sense. Fuck you cunts. You lying pieces of shit. Propaganda everywhere.
We'll stop.
Disproportionately. It's right there in the frickin' goddamn Supreme Court's words. This is the judge's own argument, and it fails dismally to explain how this isn't a fucking discriminatory treatment. In the judge's decision, he doesn't explain how he can make that quote from the Supreme Court fit his decision. There's no fit.
Everyone who's like read this and like watched this, is it just me or is Gary just like completely fucking insane and like he just...
Yeah, right. He's insane because you claim that your argument made today was the argument they made 10 years ago, and it doesn't exist. It's not in the motion. Show me in her summary judgment motion, in the Attorney General's motion, where they explained why there's a difference in levels of taxation. They explained nothing. They offered no explanation whatsoever. They just took the claims and slid them into the garbage. Period. That's what took place. Any rational person can see that that's exactly what took place. Nothing else took place here. I made constitutional claims and they just slid them into the garbage. Then when I appealed, I got the same thing. The appeals court took the claims and just slid them right into the garbage. Just ignore it. Okay? Then I went to the Supreme Court to say, one last chance. One last chance, state of New Jersey. Show you have honor, show you have integrity, or not. Okay? And the Supreme Court, which they often do, they just slide 90% of the crap that comes to them right into the garbage. Yeah, fuck you. Fuck you in the America you assholes have created. You are the cause of the blight. You are the fucking Borg. You are the blight. You are evil motherfucking cunt bastard lion cunt shit fuckers. You are shit fuckers. Probably pretty true. Yeah, it's not even an analogy or a metaphorical insult. It's probably an explicit truth. You people probably actually do fuck shit. I didn't think of that before. It just occurred to me that I'm actually making an explicit accusation, and it's actually true. It's not just an insult like asshole. No, it's an explicit truth. You are Shit fuckers. Yeah. Cool. Alright, skipped over a pretty big chunk of this. Now we're an hour and 2 minutes. He didn't say anything. Again, he hasn't dealt with the clear part of the Supreme Court decision, which is similarly must therefore be treated similarly. Okay? That's the law. 14th Amendment interpretation. That's the interpretation of the 14th Amendment in Supreme Court decisions, is that similarly situated people must be treated similarly. Not exactly, but similarly. That's 14th Amendment protection. That's how it's described by the Supreme Court. That's not negotiable. Okay? That's the fact. Now, where in the judge's decision or in the Attorney General's argument did they explain how cigarettes are not similar to alcohol or obesity as vice detriments to society? Why are cigarette smokers in a separate, unique category where there has to be no similarity in treatment? Not provided in the court case. Again, it's not arguable, okay? And there's certainly nothing to, there was no even an entertainment of some argument that some tax could potentially be excessive just in its nature. Not discriminatory, just excessive. That there's some point where the tax is draconian, prohibitive, inconsistent with any kind of Jeffersonian notion of liberty. Okay, that you've basically taxed through prohibition. So we're back to the argument again. Explain to me, why in the days of Prohibition didn't they just increase the tax? If they put a $50 tax on an ounce of alcohol, then they could tax both the consumers and the producers. It would be a win-win for the government. They're not only going to prevent people from consuming alcohol, there's not going to be any practical sale of it publicly except to the extremely rich, and they can just use the federal tax codes and the IRS to put all the gangsters in jail really easily. Prohibition made it very difficult to catch somebody at the crime, but using the tax code, they would have been able to nail them all on tax cheating. So why didn't they take that course of action? If it was legal to tax excessively, why didn't they just tax excessively? Yeah, that's right. They didn't do it because those days it was illegal. Because we had a constitution that meant something, and we now have judges who slide your constitutional rights into the garbage and do it with the unrecorded and unreported decisions without making. Appeals courts don't have to write decisions anymore. I mean, this is a farcery. This isn't a fucking democratic republic anymore. Anyway, Jenkins Act. So he goes, all right, so this whole spiel on the Jenkins Act. And look, the difference in the what they did is they took an old law that basically forced distributors of cigarettes to register with the government, so they collect the tax, and then they pay the tax to the government. Okay, so the point was is the seller collects the tax, pays it to the government. That's what the Jenkins Act is about, is just to deal with these out-of-state guys who would come in and sell cigarettes, and they had to register with the government. How they changed the Jenkins Act is they basically turned people who buy cigarettes into distributors. So they basically decided to call me a distributor of cigarettes under the law, and now I have to register with the state and pay sales and use tax and excise tax on cigarettes. So they've just turned me into the distributor, even though I'm the purchaser. And they made the other change, which was they included in the law the idea of phone and internet purchases. Even though there was mail order in existence and when the law was originally written, it didn't apply to people buying cigarettes by mail order. So the Jenkins Act had no meaning to any consumer of cigarettes. It only had meaning to distributors of cigarettes. But ignore that truth. Ignore that that's a fundamental change in the law, and ignore the fact that it was never announced or never made available to anybody to know that they had changed the law. And that's the America you want to live in. Fine, got it. You suck. So anyway, I will play a little tiny bit of this. I don't know what he's
about discrimination. I think we all understand that.
Right. So he's arguing that the judge dealt with the subject of discrimination, even though he never said the word discrimination or never said the word excessive taxation in his decision. Right. Sure he did.
Gary just doesn't understand what people say when they talk to him.
No. I understand that you've made an argument they didn't make. Why did you make the argument? Why did you feel it was necessary to demonstrate how how alcohol is a wonderful vice and how obesity is a wonderful vice compared to cigarettes. Why didn't they make that argument? Oh, that's right, because I could shoot the fuck down if they made it. Yeah, that's why.
Joke.
Yeah, fuck
well,
you.
One of the reasons.
Fuck you. Stupid idiot retard. Well, I'll just throw this in. So he's doing this long defense of the judge using the Megan's Law as an example case, using that as legal precedent to justify his deny of my claim that it's a violation of privacy rights to take surreptitiously, without my notice, my knowledge, my consent, my credit card information and send it to a third party. That it's part of the terms of service. They have to tell me they're going to do that if they're going to do that. And he's saying they don't have to, and the reason why he's used this Megan's Law as the excuse. And my point was, okay, Megan's Law, which has to do with registering known convicted child molesters. Now, obviously, the passions and incentives surrounding the idea of trying to protect children from this, this girl was raped and killed, that there's a huge social interest in trying to contrive some excuse to do this to these convicted. Now they've served their time, and now you're going to invade their privacy, basically, and put a pedophile P on their forehead or whatever. And so they're contriving an excuse to do that under the Constitution. So, in my opinion, yeah, it looks a little desperate when you're using the case law. Use the case law that Megan's Law cites. Use that case law to defend what you're doing. But don't go to Megan's Law to do it, because it just looks like kind of desperate. I'm going to use the case law from a highly emotional subject where there was every incentive for everybody to try to bend the Constitution to find an excuse to punish, to persecute these horrible molesters. Yeah, you don't use a law constructed to protect children from molesters as case law for some other activity, because it's intrinsically and fundamentally a little tainted. Yeah, I think everybody can understand that that's not the legal precedent you want to cite. You want to cite the case law that Megan's Law cites. You don't want to cite Megan's Law. I mean, anybody can understand that. If I was a judge, yeah, I really wouldn't use Megan's Law as an excuse to violate someone else's privacy rights. The fact that the state wrote a really sloppy piece of legislation and the courts upheld it because everybody wanted to. Not because it was the right thing to do, not because it was constitutional, but they contrived an excuse to bend the rules in this case because, yep, child molesting sucks. And the Constitution doesn't say it sucks. And maybe if it said it sucks, then they wouldn't have had to worry about it. But the fact is they had to bend the rules. And so you don't use case law where they had to bend the rules, quite obviously. So go ahead, pretend that isn't stupid. Pretend that if you were a judge, you wouldn't care. I certainly would feel sensitive to not using case law in highly emotional cases to justify action I was going to take against some other party who has nothing to do. There's nothing similar about these cases. Yeah, I would use a similar case, not a dissimilar case, to justify what I was doing. So whatever. Play your game, and it's just that. It's a game. I mean, not to concede the fact that Megan's Law should really not be cited in any case where you're going to violate a regular citizen's privacy rights, a non-convict's privacy rights. You should never use Megan's Law when you're going to violate the privacy rights of a non-criminal. All right, one quick one here. He's sitting there defending the non-consensual seizing of people's private purchase information. So the word non-consensual in the law applies to the fact that you don't have to get the purchaser's consent to send their purchase information to the federal or state authorities. And the argument is about getting the purchaser's consent, all right, informing them that you're going to do a certain thing. You're going to take their personal purchase information and send it to a state. It's that non-disclosure that the argument is about, and look how he perverts it.
Permission to do that. They have to do that, Gary. So, yeah, it's not a violation of your privacy. It's not...
Okay, well, I cut off the words, but he basically says, that he's saying that I give them consent to do it. they don't have to get my consent. That my consent isn't required. Well, anyway, he turns it backwards. So instead of them being obligated to inform me to get my consent through the purchase, to have a terms of service that includes the knowledge that they are sending my private information to some other authority, instead of doing that, they don't need to do that. They don't. I'm the one. He's saying they don't need to wait for me to consent to them doing it. Like I'm supposed to tell them it's okay to do it first, which is just a grotesque perversion. They don't have to wait for me to say so. They can just do it. Well, whatever. You get my drift.
We'll get to that. Get to that later.
That's what you're endorsing, you fucking cunt.
No, I'm endorsing the law, and I really enjoy how angry you get at me because you've already lost. Oh, I also like the very end where you call me an idiot because I'm unaware of the fact that you've been breaking the law for the past 3 years by illegally importing Canadian cigarettes and avoiding taxes on them. Again, that's very interesting information, Gary. Oh, I'm sorry. I should have done another spoiler alert, shouldn't I?
Yeah, what is the point of that, really? Yeah, I've been sent, like, in, whatever, 4 packs of cigarettes in the last 3 years from Canada, 4 packs. And so why are you pointing this out? Like, what, you're going to narc on me or something? This is interesting information. How? So, again, anybody who smokes pot in a YouTube video, we should all inform the feds that they're breaking the federal law. Is that what you're saying? I mean, they're all fucking grotesque. They're felons, right? They're fucking felons. Gee, you're a cool guy. Yeah, way to go, Matt. Alright, the Matt thing came up again, so we might as well just play with it a little bit. What he says, I don't know anything about Matt. Why do I care? Well, I cared because, I thought Matt was like a human being, I thought he believed in civil rights. I thought he believed in, fairness and a good game and all that kind of stuff. And apparently he doesn't believe in any of that stuff. But you really couldn't believe in any of that stuff and sit in a room with a fucking asshole like you and listen to this kind of shit.
You never fucking cared about him. You said it yourself. You never considered him a friend. Now, I think that's a lie, but, you
I never said those words, but whatever.
Never considered him a friend, apparently, so why do you care? If you never considered him a friend, then why are you...
I didn't say those words, okay? What I said was I didn't have sex with him. That's what I said. He wasn't my fucking wife.
You so angry at Matt. Why are you so angry at Matt?
I'm not. I'm angry at the fact that I didn't know he was an asshole. I was really I'm kind of just angry at myself. Like, how the fuck did I miss that? How did I miss that he's a complete motherfucking asshole? I even heard a little bit of Hate Club. I bounced through, like, whatever, a Skyzer thing, so I bounced through it. And at the end, you assholes were sitting there talking about Inmendham again, which is funny. But earlier in the thing, Matt was mocking Skyzer, talking over him and shit, and I'm just saying, well, what the fuck is that crap? Where did Matt learn that kind of behavior? I mean, that's just trolly all over the place. So, yeah, my mistake. I mean, I did think Matt was a little bit smarter than that. But he's not. So, yeah, fuck you, fuck Matt, fuck your fat neck club. Small dick and fat neck.
And again, it's really funny that you're mad at Matt for linking me that video when basically Ooge ran crying to you about 2 years ago and sent you out from...
Well,
all Matt did was
didn't mean to cut that off. The Ooge thing. No, he never did. That never happened. That's a lie. So another slander by you, okay? No contact, no nothing. No, that's just a lie. None of that ever happened. I responded to your video because I also thought the war was bullshit, you fucker. I don't remember the details of the video, but I do remember that there was no collusion. Nobody came crying to me.
And Ooge actually tried to get you to come after me, and you fucking failed miserably then.
Yeah, so another lie. Again, where's your proof of that? Where's your evidence of that? There's no evidence of that. I was never asked to do anything. I saw your video. I said, what a crock of shit. And I responded to it, you idiot. So anyway, enough of that. Let's see, there's no real notes, right? Beyond the fact that, okay, you talked about the Jenkins Act and the sales tax, and, the point is they regulate advertising. That's why it's relevant. Okay, the state regulates cigarette advertising. Other advertising, they don't sit there and force you to submit a copy of the ad before you can publish. But cigarette ads, they do. They regulate it. So the state knew what was in these ads, and the state allowed the ads. So the state is complicit in the deception. So the deception becomes a little bit important because the state is complicit in the deception. Duh. All right, this part, I was just talking about, the judge admitting in the first line of his decision that he was in error to say I couldn't argue constitutional rights, and how that's just preposterous. Well, anyway, and he just keeps saying the word summary judgment, summary judgment, summary judgment, like that's an answer to a judge denying somebody, claiming changing jurisdiction in the middle of a case, changing jurisdiction in his decision on a case. He changed the jurisdiction of the case in his decision. It's preposterously impossible. I will pay a law professor, whatever it takes. Let's pay one. Let's pay a law professor from any college you pick. Let's pay him, and whoever loses has to pay, right? And let's pay a law professor and just read the first paragraph of the judge's decision and see if the law professor can find any rationale under any circumstance anywhere in the history of jurisprudence and all of mankind's history of jurisprudence where that would be legal, where that wouldn't be a catastrophically reversible error for a judge to change jurisdiction in his decision. And you answered that with summary judgment, summary judgment, summary judgment. As if summary judgment doesn't prevent a judge from changing jurisdiction in his decision. I mean, you can't get any crazier than this. So here's another line he said. Okay, this is just hilarious. A tax that puts a liberty out of my price range would not be unconstitutional. That's what he says. So he says that it would not be unconstitutional for the government to tax items, to take them out of the purchasing possibility of poor people and leave them available to rich people through the tax alone. The tax would create the barrier to access, and that would be okay. It's okay for rich people to have liberty. It's not okay for poor people to have liberty, and that's the Constitution he thinks we should live under. Wow.
About how much they were taxed and ran with them. He defeated all of your claims, quoting the accurate laws and proving that no, these things are constitutional, you are wrong.
Right, so there was actually no argument explaining how the tax isn't excessive or any argument defending the notion of discrimination. No counter-argument to my claim of bigotry, none whatsoever, and he says that's therefore proof that I'm wrong. The fact that they made no counter-argument, they made no argument to the claim of bigotry, they just said we're going to not hear the word, and that's the way you win an argument. You win the argument by not hearing the claim. So if I argue that the earth is round, the flat earther wins because he just says, I didn't hear you. The world is flat. I didn't hear you. You didn't say anything. Yeah, okay. Yeah, sure, that's rational. That's reasonable.
Dismissed. So yeah.
Yeah, that's effective. Suck it and such. Yeah, right? So I can be priced out of my liberty by taxes, and I should just suck it. No, I'll say fuck you. Yeah, that's right, I'll fuck it. Okay? Yeah. Zombie war. Can't wait. This part's a little stupid. I guess it's just, we'll call this one an honest misunderstanding maybe, but this is just a waste of time.
Because it's really, really interesting here, because he says that the whole summary judgment thing happened before the recusal.
No, I never said any such thing. Your video did that. Here the video's playing, right, where the motion to recuse is what you're reading from. You haven't gotten to the final decision on the motion to recuse yet, and then you start reading the summary judgment motion. So the video you were playing was on recusal, and then you moved the conversation to the summary judgment motion. And then it had to go back to the recusal motion. My point is that why are you reading the final decision when we haven't even finished on your own video the recusal motion? So, okay, I'll call it an honest misunderstanding, but I never said the summary judgment motion happened after. I said quite explicitly the summary judgment motion happened a year later. Duh. I appealed the recusal motion. That's something I just found out. I didn't realize I did do that. But I actually paid to go to the appeals court to appeal the recusal denial. And they gave me a piece of tissue paper saying denied, of course, with no argument, of course. So just more of the same bullshit. But I did appeal his ludicrous statement that he's still a competent judge, even though he called me off the record to inform me of a 5% penalty if I don't get out of his courtroom.
That's why, like, even on Gary's own timeline, that's not the case. So Gary doesn't even understand how time works.
Yeah, well, why don't you directly quote me if you're going to do this kind of bullshit, okay? Like I said, I'll grant you an honest mistake. You misunderstood what I said or something, or you misinterpreted, but I never said anything you're implying I said here, and I'm quite damn sure I didn't. So unless you have a direct quote, I think you're full of shit. You made the mistake, asshole.
Apparently he's like Palace 486 and doesn't understand linear time.
Yeah, well, whatever. Apparently you're an asshole, and you're proving it again. Again.
Yes.
They're a lawyer.
I told
Okay,
several.
It's always the ambiguous friends.
I told 2 friends that were lawyers and 3 people who are currently getting their JD. One of those people who is getting their JD is in New Jersey, and one of the lawyers is also in New Jersey, or at least passed the New Jersey bar.
Let's hear one of them. Can they write up a statement? I'll pay them for it.
They could, potentially, but I'm not going to expose them to your idiocy because I don't want you and your fucking followers harassing them and stalking them like you have repeatedly other people, and I don't want you fucking flooding them with all kinds.
I've harassed somebody? Oh, interesting. Could you prove that? Okay, so let's let Matt, your friend, or maybe the skeptical heretic, okay, have some intermediary person. I'll pay them too. How much money do they want to do just qualify the guy as a real lawyer, okay, or really deeply into their law school, not first year law, but, deeply in, 3rd year, 4th year, whatever. And I'll pay them. Okay, as long as the other guy proves that this is a lawyer, and that we have to have some credential of some kind, some way to say, hey, this guy isn't just going to talk complete bullshit. He should have something on the line, right? Some future, like a codicil we could write to the thing, where he states that maybe in 10 years his name can be revealed, or some kind of bullshit. To make some statement explaining just the judge's first paragraph of his decision, where he announces the change in jurisdiction of the case in his decision. Now, just give me a legal opinion where that isn't catastrophically reversible error. Catastrophical error. Okay? Just catastrophical. The case is over. It's a mistrial. The judge has blown it. He's fucked it beyond savability. It's a fucking miscarriage of justice. Show me a legal decision by a competent, a bar-approved, I would like, preferably. You said you had 2 lawyers, so yeah, bar-approved guy saying that isn't a fact, saying that I'm wrong, that isn't catastrophic error, that cases do this all the time, that judges change the jurisdiction in their decision. It happens all the time.
It's bullshit. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to expose my real-life friends to the bullshit of, you're fucking crazy Colt.
Whatever. So can we say cop out loud enough here? Yeah. Can we call it, say liar? You said these guys mock the case. You said they had a good laugh. You say they think it's a big fucking goddamn joke that a fucking judge would change jurisdiction in his decision. A judge would say, you can't argue constitutional rights in my court, and then in his final decision say, oh, I made a mistake. You can't argue those things, but too bad. The case is closed, so fuck you.
And the internet at large.
Okay, with their
pussy,
number.
pussy.
Like
I smell a liar. I smell a liar.
I
smell a liar. Let's see what else he's gonna say.
I don't fucking work for you, and no. The answer is no to what he's about to ask.
Oh, good.
Just so we have that. Is defending the judge's interpretation of the law in this case.
They don't have to.
Any kind of explanation how the judge did address the issue of discrimination in his decision. Just something. And just some explanation of how the judge is allowed to just take a page of my complaint and just throw it in the garbage.
Because it has nothing to do with the law.
Okay, right. So we can't get one of his 5 lawyer friends to put up a paragraph, to write a paragraph explaining that. I can't. There's no money I could offer them. $1,000 fucking dollars to explain that. to explain how that's consistent with every state and federal legal precedent, established legal precedent in every state and in the United States Supreme Court, that this case would be found to be completely consistent with regular constitutional justice. You have no fucking chance, asshole, and that's why you won't go near my challenge to your lawyer friends. How high do I have to make the bar? How much do I have to bribe them to write this paragraph? Yeah, fuck you, liar.
I would love to hear the lawyer's analysis. Now, in the past...
I'm sure you would love to hear that.
Yes, I did offer...
Yeah, I would, okay? Because all I've heard is a bunch of slander out of your fat pig mouth. Okay, so let's see a lawyer put his fucking credentials on the line, put his integrity on the line, and defend what is obviously a miscarriage of justice, which is obviously bullshit justice, a judge changing jurisdiction in his decision. Complete bullshit. Complete utter crap.
$10,000 to any law professor willing to defend what this judge did. Okay? $10,000 to put his reputation on a defense of this judge's, an analysis defending this judge's behavior. And answering my accusation of where the lack of addressing a single item in my complaint exists. The fact that not one single issue in my complaint was addressed by...
Actually, most of them were.
Well, again, you keep saying most of them were. I'm offering any law professor $10,000 to put his reputation on the line and say that.
Judge. And that it is a fundamental, critical, reversible error if a judge states he doesn't have jurisdiction over constitutional issues, denies you...
He made a mistake in an off-the-record phone call.
It doesn't matter. The fucking... He prohibited me from making the arguments, okay? The recorded conversation with the Attorney General right after the judges, she tells me you can't argue the Jenkins Act or any other federal constitutional right in this case. That's what she said. The Attorney General for the Deputy Attorney General. That's how the fucking letters are signed. That's what she fucking said. It was outrageously wrong.
And he then argued about the Constitution, and he attacked all of your constitutional claims and proved them wrong.
Well, I'm sorry. I didn't get to make my constitutional claims, so how the fuck did he successfully attack them when I wasn't allowed to make them once again? Where was his description of how it's not discrimination, and where was his description of how it's not excessive? Oh, yeah, they're not there. He didn't make the argument.
And he addressed them all, and then he rendered judgment appropriately as part of the, once again, summary judgment, Gary.
The right to make the constitutional arguments, and then...
Well, whatever. There's no point, right? So we'll come back to this, see if he makes any sense. We've already nailed it, right? I mean, come on. He's basically endorsed taxing poor people out of liberty. He's not responded to the similarly situated should be treated similarly. He's basically said, no, all the N-worders, we're treating all the slaves the same. What rights? What do you mean? They're complaining they're being treated different than us? No, that's not the comparison. You don't compare slaves to us. You just compare one slave to the other slave. And I treated that slave the same as I treated that slave, so I can't be guilty of no discrimination. Yeah, right. That's a brilliant analysis. Man, that's right up there with, you know, what legal case can we put up there? Is there a case dumber than that one? No. I don't, you know, with all the dumb cases in American judicial history, you can't get better than that analysis, that there's no discrimination because, yeah, all the people I discriminated against them equally.
Yeah, they have better things to do with their time. I know my friends do, at least.
On its fucking face, through its core, on every single quantum in it.
Oh, you're so mad. It's so precious.
Process.
So precious.
Yeah, right. Somebody's mad because they are not allowed to get redress of grievances in the United States of America in a fair court. Yeah, and they shouldn't be mad about that. That shouldn't just totally piss them off. Well, it pisses me off, that's right. Really pisses me off. I hate you fuckers. Passionately.
Oh, he's so funny when mad.
People I know who are actually lawyers. I sent them a lot of your stuff, and they really, really found it funny.
That was true.
Prove it.
Yeah, so he says it's true. He's testifying for his 5 lawyer friends. He's giving us his testimony on their behalf. They say, well, it was really funny. Ha, 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 ha. And prove it?
No.
No.
Dare you? I defy you.
What is this, fucking high school? I don't fucking care what you dare to defy me.
Yeah, exactly, because you're a liar. You're a fucking slandering liar. Okay? You made an argument out of fake friends, fake lawyers, fake testimony, fake laughing. Okay, so you just said, yeah, see, here's some more people that believe like me. Well, prove it. Okay, is that too much? You made an accusation. You're making a slanderous accusation that I don't know what I'm fucking talking about, and you're using the authority of your 5 lawyer friends as evidence of my incredibility. I'm asking you to back up your accusation, cunt. You're going to say, I don't know what I'm talking about, then why don't you take your testimony from the authorities, your 5 lawyer friends that you shoved in my face and insulted my integrity with, and ask them to fucking put up. Show their balls. They're going to call me something, they're going to mock me, going to laugh at me, well then let them do it honestly, not dishonestly through you.
I'm not going to fucking post all my friends' personal information.
Oh, there's no requirement for personal information. There's no posting all this other shit. Let them do it right through your friend Matt. Do you trust your friend Matt? Or your other buddy, skeptical heretic? Or pick any one of them.
No, fuck you. I don't care.
I don't think they're as big a preposterous liar as you. I don't think they'll lie for you. I really don't. So I'll trust them. Let the lawyers contact them and say, yeah, I found it hilarious that judge changed jurisdiction in his final decision. Let the lawyers say that to the skeptical heretic, and I'll take his word for it.
Some fucking argument on the internet. You already lost the fucking case.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't lose shit, and that's my argument. I proved that the New Jersey justice system is a bag of shit. I proved that judges are liars and cheaters. I proved that they're breaking the fucking United States Constitution and denying me my right to make arguments in their goddamn court. That's what I goddamn proved. I proved a preposterous amount of fucking corruption and collusion. Okay, another case that I filed, again, you people, you don't understand how bad this really is. The other case I filed was about public access television, and the fucking judge told me, you don't have any right to be on public access television. Okay, buy your own cable network. That's what her quote was. Quote, buy your own cable network. That was her response to denying me access to public access television. You're going to say that's a rational decision? An appropriate decision? Yeah. Fuck you, lying cunts.
Doing this to show that you're a fucking retard, and that you're still whining about something that happened 10 years ago because you're mad that you lost, and you don't know what...
I'm not mad that I didn't lose. I didn't lose a fair fight, and you'd be goddamn pissed off, too. If it was costing you, okay, in my lifetime, what are we talking about? $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 that you've stolen from me? Fuck you, cunt.
You're talking about. I don't have to fucking prove jack shit to you, buddy.
Right, you can just lie. Okay, I'm claiming you're a fucking liar. I don't think you have 5 lawyer friends. I don't think your 5 lawyer friends read that part where the judge says, I'm going to change jurisdiction right here at the decision stage of the case. All of a sudden, I'm going to say I have jurisdiction over a whole bunch of shit. I told you, you can't argue. Go ahead, show me a lawyer who says that's funny. Because goddammit, that's fucking tragic. That a Harvard graduate judge would pull a move like that. That's fucking tragic.
Prove it.
No.
Let them put their reputation on the line.
No, I'm not dragging my friends and making them get in front of a fucking camera.
Right, you're just going to talk. You're just going to talk big and produce shit. All right, so we've shown what you're worth. You'll slander other people on the testimony of fake authority. Yeah, fuck you, liar. Well, all right, there it's on. Yeah, this part was fairly hilarious. So he just read the court where the judge, I said the judge didn't call me to do the tax amnesty thing. The first thing out of his mouth to me was, you make a lot of allegations in your complaint, and none of your allegations are that you didn't buy the cigarettes. Right? So here's a complaint where I'm complaining from a previous tax court. Let's understand the progression of this. I'm appealing a tax appeal, and then you go to court. When you appeal, you end up in the real court. So I've already argued this tax case, and so now I'm in his court. And, implicit is the fact that, yes, I'm appealing the tax, okay? I'm not arguing I didn't buy cigarettes. I'm appealing the the excessiveness and the discrimination of the tax. And so how could this possibly be anything else but idiotic for a judge to call me and say, we're not going to discuss the merits of the case, but answer this question. Why aren't you saying you didn't buy cigarettes? When I say in my complaint, I bought the cigarettes. It's part of the paperwork. The paperwork that went with my complaint is the receipts for the purchase of the cigarettes. So why would you, if the receipts for the purchase of the cigarettes with my credit card information are part of the complaint, how could you possibly not know that I purchased the cigarettes? Why would I say I didn't buy cigarettes that obviously I bought? Wait. And this is...
Gary, you've been the one that's been rewriting history, and the funny thing is that I've directly quoted your court case multiple times and demonstrated how you've been wrong on multiple aspects.
Yeah, whatever. Did you quote Goldsmith when she said the court doesn't have jurisdiction? Did you quote the summary judgment motion they filed? Did you quote anything out of that motion at all? No, of course you didn't, because their motion was complete crap. There was absolutely nothing. There was no argument in it. Yeah. So, fuck you. Retard. Let's see what else. Let's just, might as well finish up. I gotta save time.
When you've referred to your own case.
Whatever. If you didn't do any of that, you're just a lying piece of shit, and that's already been demonstrated, so I should just finish up because you're a lying piece of shit. There's no point in arguing with liars with 5 lawyers behind them. Right. Alright, so now he's defending his accusations about where I get my money from, where he basically he exaggerated the point and said, okay, everything I get is disability income or some kind of crap like that, which isn't the truth, okay? And it's none of his business, and it doesn't need to be argued as part of this argument. And his argument is, well, no, because it's mentioned somewhere, he has the right to do it, and he can play with that all he wants to, and blah, blah, blah. So I should just do that. Like I said, if I find out information about you personally, I should just say it in any video I feel like saying it in. I should bring it up whenever I feel like it. I should just point it out as some sort of, like somehow it's relevant when it isn't. It doesn't mean anything. It's not important to this argument. So I should do that to everybody who fucking smokes pot in their video, for example. I should just point out, well, you go to this guy's channel, he smokes pot in his videos. I should just point that out. He's a lawbreaker right there in front of everybody. He's breaking the law, showing kids how to break the law. Bad example. Maybe we should do something about that. Yeah, right. Fuck you. You're just being a petty asshole. Now you're rationalizing for your petty assholery. So go ahead, play games. I'm just saying don't lie. All right? You lied when you took one fact that I'm on disability, that I get a Social Security check, which I paid into. You took that one fact and tried to pervert it into something else, and that's a lie. So just shut the fuck up. All right? You don't need to do this in the first place, but don't lie about it, you asshole. I don't have an obligation to defend myself against your lies, shithead. I'll defend the truth, but I'm not going to defend against your lies. And the court documents are what the court documents are, okay? I'm not going to sit there and take shit out of them because then it's dishonest. So I can't, what? I'm supposed to retract? I'm supposed to sit there and black crap out and do all that nonsense? Well, I think that's bullshit. This is the truth, okay? But you don't need to sit there and polish that truth with your lying shit. Keep your lying shit, your exaggerations and your distortions out of the conversation, and I'm perfectly satisfied, fuck ass.
Thing about how I asked you about the whole, well, who are you then to bitch about other people wasting money when you're taking taxpayers' money to spend on your own?
Again, taxpayers' money. No, I paid into Social Security. It's an insurance program. Part of the Social Security is an insurance program. All right? I haven't done anything wrong. It took me 2 years to get qualified for that disability. Who the fuck are you to sit there and say I'm stealing from taxpayers again? That's your fucking perversion of the truth. And again, it's not my obligation then, you fucking pedophile. All right, well, just make exaggerations. You look like a pedophile, you must be a pedophile. That's as far as I'll go, okay? There's a semi-truth here. You're sort of homosexual and weird and affected, and so therefore you must be a fucking pedophile. Fuck you. I mean, fuck this shit, you fucking pedophile.
On your vice,
people suck. Fuck you, Matt.
Yeah, fuck you, Matt again. Yeah, that's a good point, too, miss. We'll move on. Alright, we're going to have to go another one, I guess. I'm out of time. Let's see how long this lasts. So now he's back to this amendment arguing. He's arguing that I don't know the 14th Amendment was passed later and that somehow I'm arguing that the protected class stuff isn't part of the 14th Amendment. It doesn't matter. The 14th Amendment in 1950 and 1940 and 1920 still covered the rights of people to due process and fair process within the states, and so that's the whole point. The 14th Amendment, as interpreted by the Supreme Court, means similarly situated need to be treated similarly. That's the fucking Supreme Court decision in 1950 and in 1940, and that's the legal precedent, and that's the standard the judge had to use, would be similarly situated, have to be treated similarly. The contention is that the alcohol and other vices are not taxed the same as cigarettes or similarly to cigarettes, and there's no reason for that differential except for bigotry, period. I've proven that because there is no alternative explanation for why one is 800 times, deserves an 800% tax or 20 times the penalty of the other. And clearly even more than 20 times the infinite amount of more penalty than the obesity situation. So if you're not going to tax obesity at all, and you're not going to tax alcohol proportional to cigarette tax, there's only one other explanation, and that's fucking just outright bigotry, because it's a minority vice, and clearly it's all about the money. All the legislatures and all their debates are just talking about the money. Okay, that's it. It's just an easy way. It's an easy minority to exploit for money. That's all they're doing. It is fundamentally unconstitutional, and it's a sad, pitiful fact that you fucking people call yourselves Americans and you have no fucking clue that that's not what the Constitution's for. The Constitution doesn't exist to allow majority to exploit minorities. The Constitution and the Bill of Rights exist to protect minorities from majorities. And you assholes can't get that simple thing right.